long as the other car is not on the side. Once the car is on the side, you are not allowed to change direction, especially if you are braking. If you are in the braking zone, you have to stay in your line. Therefore, if you want to block, if you want to defend, you have to do that before the car is trying to make the move.
So how has this season been different with a hybrid engine and the sort of differential in energy that can be in horsepower between cars and overtaking?
There is more the strategy aspect into it. So because you have to manage energy, you can decide, okay, I'm going to save energy here because I want to overtake him in turn 12, for example, you know? So that's where the strategy aspect plays more into account. The software says for every car what is the optimum way of deploying the energy, but on race day, and that's why even Charles and Lewis like this type of racing, because they say the driver decides how to, where to attack, where not to attack. Okay, he's going to attack me now. Of course, you don't know how much energy the other driver has left. There is a lot of this overtaking, which I think is good, this Mario Kart overtaking or yo-yo overtaking. Basically, you overtake, and suddenly you run out of energy, and the guy behind has energy and overtakes you back.
Okay, so it's better for the fans.
So far, the racing has played really well. I mean, we've seen, up to now, the best racing for many, many years.
We were thinking, you know, we're never going to get a current driver because they're busy.
But we did.
I know, because he glides in on one of those electric scooters.
And I remember speaking to him. It was loud in that garage.
100% loud.
I don't even know if the audio came out, but we can find out.
So, we've all been reading about, we heard about these changes to the design and the wings. So, how much of that do you have to practice on and think about for this next race? This is the first race with that, right? With all the changes?
I'm trying to ask him questions about Formula One, and he's trying to ask me questions about cosmology.
I mean, that's all boring stuff. I want to know about space. I want to know about space.
I'm here to talk to you.
Come on. I the first time seeing you. I want to talk about space.
Trade space thing.
Okay.
I'll give you a space thing.
The new rules have just made some adjustments, but they've not really made much difference. Basically, we're struggling this year because it's really hard for fans to fully understand it, and it's hard for us to understand it because the ultimate goal when you're driving a F1 car is to push the car to the limit. The faster you take a corner, hopefully you should be up on your time compared to others. And right now, with what we have, because we have a limited amount of battery, we have to constantly, when you're off power, you're charging the battery. When you're on power, you're using the battery.
And when you're braking, I presume that charges the battery as well.
Well, but we have less charge this year because they took away the MGH that we had last year, which is too confusing. So basically, like if you take the high speed fast, if you go more committed and you take more risk and you go faster through a corner, you get penalized afterwards because you don't charge enough.
So it's a strategy.
Just how to and then also the tires. Like yesterday, for example, we were fast through the high speed, but then we'll slow down the straight, and others gained like 4/10 of.
That seemed like there'd be more occasions to have lead changes.
Yeah.
So that's more fun for the viewer, right?
It is, but also the software has to work right. And that's the biggest problem. Like yesterday, I was losing 0.3 of a second just because the software wasn't doing its job.
How do you know you're losing 0.3 of a second?
I didn't know until I came back and to my engineers, I'm like, I'm sorry. To my engineers I sit with, I'm sorry, like I'm slow. And they're like, you're not slow. The software wasn't working. So that's a real frustration because back in the day, they didn't have that. We need less.
And no one is looking at you and thinking about some software engineer in the back room.
Everyone just sees
no one is thinking about that.
Everyone just sees that you're
It's your fault you lost that 3
Exactly.
I have unlimited cosmic curiosities to share, and I'm delighted as an educator to be in the company of someone who has that level of curiosity, even in the middle of an F1 weekend.
F1 drivers would make excellent astronauts.
Oh yeah, it would be great. I can absolutely fly a rocket. I just maybe need to figure out the buttons.
Different
Different buttons. But I would have been a good pilot though.
What you do is you get NASA to design just a little handle there with the buttons. Launch.
Go back to the old
Orbit.
But it sucks today that they're launching from mission control.
Yeah.
Like give the controls back to the pilot.
You're a payload in the rocket.
His interest is highly resonant with many. The search for life in the universe.
I have a question here. So I watched the whole building of the Hubble telescope.
Yes.
sorry, not the Hubble telescope, the James Webb. The images they sent of all those galaxies in one space was like mind blowing.
Yes, yes.
I believe there's life out there.
When you do the math, how old is the universe? How quickly life started on Earth? The ingredients of life on Earth, which are everywhere, no one denies that. No one who's studied the problem denies that. So what we can ask is, if we colonize Mars and their microbes, that'd be kind of fun. But if we do, we totally want to put an F1 track there.
Yeah, I'll be there.
He has a space geek underbelly that revealed itself in conversation.
Do you love the movie Interstellar?
Yes, of course.
You know when in that movie they go to one of the planets, and 45 minutes there is like
Yeah,
years.
the gargantuan planet near the black hole. Yeah, it's the relativity, because time is not the same for everyone. It flows at different rates.
But in our galaxy, you wouldn't have that on any other.
No, you can find a black hole that has those properties.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah. So they found a place where that's going up. No matter what galaxy are you in, it's what black hole are you near.
And you can't go through a black hole. That we know.
You want to try?
100%. If I could, I would.
We offered him a patch from the International Space Station. Mission 44. And guess what number he is?
Tell him.
44.
You're 44, correct?
My race car is 44, yeah.
This is the 44th mission to the space station, which was international. Amazing. And it even included one of the Kelly brothers on there, the famous twin.
Yeah.
So we thought this would have special meaning for you because it was the 44th mission.
Oh, cool. Beautiful match.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It's simple, but meaningful, I
Oh,
think.
it's super meaningful.
Yes.
I love this.
So G-forces. There's more than one flavour of a G-force. So can you break this down for us?
Well, a G-force is simply an acceleration. That's all it is. And when you're standing on Earth, you're subject to Earth's acceleration of 32 feet per second. That's what it's called.
Yeah. Okay.
We live in 1G, and no one's complaining.
No, because we're used to it.
We're used to it. We evolved here. You go into orbit, 0 Gs, because you are floating. Okay? And you have anywhere in between. On the moon, you weigh 1/6 of what you weigh here. That's 1/6 G.
So I'm told you might hit G-force up to 4?
5.
Why? But for brief.
Yeah. So it's usually in the braking point, when you hit the brakes, it's 5 Gs for a short period. Like this one here, you don't pull massive. There's not really any high-speed corners really here. But we go to like Spain, Barcelona, turn 3. It's you pull in high G for a lot longer, so your neck gets like a beating.
So you can get G-forces by being on a planet. You get G-forces by speeding up. Everyone will feel this in a car, even if it's not an F1 car. You put your pedal to the metal, you jolt back a little bit. You okay?
When you brake.
And so not only when you speed up, when you slow down.
Yeah.
In Miami, the highest peak of G-force is on the braking.
So you're pulling forward on that. Oh.
First of all, a driver on the brake pedal, we put more than 70 bar. More than 70 bar is like 100 kilos of force on the brake pedal. And that translates into around 7G.
Not for very long.
No,
Otherwise, your head falls off.
less than a second,
Yes.
7G. It's so hard that sometimes the sweating detaches from your body and sticks inside of the visor, you know? So it's...
Who would have thought?
Yeah, but actually sometimes drivers think it's raining and it's not raining, it's your
Sweat
detaches, yeah.
detaching from your face.
Yeah, that has happened in the past.
Okay.
However, if you would drive in the car, the thing that would probably impress you the most is the lateral G-force.
Yeah.
And in Miami, we don't have so many high-speed corners, but the lateral G-force, why is more impressive? Because it sustains over 2-3 seconds. Doing like 3-4 Gs over 2-3 seconds, and that really, you feel it on your neck especially, you know? So, yeah, Formula 1 car, G-force is very, very high.
Once we get to Miami, Ferrari and our dear friends Bid Defender approach us to say, we've got a special gift for you. Okay, swag. Merch. No, a hot lap. They put you in an extremely fast car with a really talented driver and they whiz you around the track.
That's what the hot lap was, because they had told me about this, and I said, no.
And guess what? I said no. We did totally wimp out, and we could not turn that gift down. What we did was sacrifice our young producer. I think that is technically term.
Sacrifice.
Stuck him in there like a pea in a tin can and rattled him around. So maybe it topped out about 170 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's up there.
Yeah, but because we're twisted, put a GoPro in there just to watch him rattle around like a pea in a tin
no, I
can.
haven't seen this yet. So you get to see him respond to the G-forces. Yes, okay.
Yeah. All right, let's watch it.
All right. That's my Alex. What are they doing that? He's our producer.
I know. We really have put him out there, haven't we? Let's see how he handles the thrust. Sorry to laugh.
What?
Oh, look at him.
Look at that facial expression.
I know, but look at his upper body. It is
He looks like an anime character. What we see happening to his ID badge is happening to his inner organs.
Oh, good news.
And I think also his brain, but I didn't want to tell him that.
No, don't do that.
Yeah.
He won't be listening to this, will he? And look at the smile on the driver's face.
The driver's like just totally chill.
Yeah, that's what I do. He's enjoying himself.
The 3 more turns there, each, what do we get here, 60-degree turns.
Yeah.
Those aren't so bad. Because he is scrambling our producer here.
Straight.
The driver's just like, yeah, I'm just going to the, Piggly Wiggly, picking up some milk.
Pick up some groceries. Just shows
Very
that
good.
is a graphic example
Yes.
of exactly what's in there.
Yes, yes.
I'm going to be thankful to Ferrari, Scuderia Ferrari, stable Ferrari, and Bitdefender. They're partners, and in similar ways, they're adaptable to ever-changing conditions. And yeah, they're pretty good at what they do, and they were good to us, Neil. They looked after us very, very well.
Come to think of it, Gary,
Yes.
all these changes, in any given moment, they might feel oppressive, or they might feel, why are you doing that? What's
Yeah.
going on? But then step back and look at the original Formula One cars. You're glad that's not what they're racing today. Somebody is moving things forward.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about it as an evolution
Yes,
on not just one front, but many fronts.
multiple fronts. And
Yeah.
so, of course, science operates that way. There's no substitute for good data. And on another level, there's no substitute for lots of data. Because not only can it affirm what you thought you knew was true, but it can open up vistas to experiment further. And it looks like Formula One is carved in that image of the flow of science.
So,
From what we did and what we thought was true yesterday to the future that is yet to be plumbed for our genius and our innovation.
how about that?
I would want to know if I was in a simulation. I totally want to talk to the overlords.
Absolutely. First of all, who picked my avatar? Why don't I have a better body? Why did you give me mild acid reflux? I have a lot of issues with this overlord person.
This is Star Talk, Cosmic Queries Edition. This time I got Paul Mercurio. Paul, welcome back, dude.
All right, good to see you again. Neil, how are you, buddy?
All right, Paul, at some point somebody christened you Baron Paul Mercurio.
That is true, and
Yeah.
we had a ceremony, which was
Okay.
quite lovely in your office, if you remember.
Did we use my Excalibur?
Excalibur story. Yes, we did the whole thing. Yeah,
Very good.
for some reason, there's no red carpet here, but
And are you still have your traveling show? Permission to Speak?
I do. Yeah.
It's a theater show, right?
It's a wagon, and I sell medicines. I'm a medicine man now because I'm going to be out of a job at the Late Show. So yes, touring with that. I've got my podcast Inside Out with Paul Mercurio because it's the law and everyone's supposed to have a podcast now. And
You've been in the biz a while.
yeah, I go back to the Daily Show, and one of the original guys on that, and
Well, even predating Jon Stewart.
Jon Stewart, that tiny little man. Yes, he's only this big. A lot of people don't know. The cameras are amazing that we would have. Yes, with Craig Kilborn, and then and Lewis Black was on, and we would have all this crazy fun, and nobody knew what they were doing, but they were letting us. We were like, you know, you would appreciate this. We were like in the lab, they just said, just go make it and blow things up, and then we get yelled at by the president of the network every once in a while because we went too far. He would literally yell at you like your father would yell at you, like that. He couldn't get. Why did you think that could be okay on TV? And he's like screaming at you.
We got a grab bag this session.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
that means
Some
that
great
it's
questions, by the way. Some really good questions.
whatever subjects just sort of landed in your lap. And these are questions asked by our Patreon members.
And whenever I do these, I'm always, and this isn't false praise, like the fans of our show, just how smart they are about this stuff. Like they did really great questions.
Oh, yeah. It's like, oh my gosh, we should
Yeah.
be handing out degrees at the
Yeah.
end.
Except for this first guy. This first guy's an idiot. No, I'm just kidding. No.
Okay, so what you got for me?
This is Farouk from Uzbekistan, writing from Norwich, UK. It's my favorite movie, Interstellar. After I've seen your interview with Kip Thorne, there's something that bothers me now. When they were on Miller's planet with giant water waves next to the black hole being immensely time dilated relative to one of their crew that remained behind on the ship and aged faster, what if they had telescopes and looked through the windows of the ship at their crewmate aging years for their minutes? Wouldn't they be able to see the faster passage of time, or would it have, or what would it have looked like? Or is light itself affected and won't allow this to happen?
So if you had a telescope and looked down at them near the surface of the black hole, everything would be going in slow motion.
I understand, but it's also kind of insensitive. They're looking through the telescope. Hey guys, look at this! Look at he's aging so fast. He just took out a reverse mortgage on his house. Like,
He's turning gray while we watch it. Yeah.
I just had a sandwich, and during that time he's been divorced 3 times, and he doesn't have any visitation rights. Like, what?
They would look down and see them moving slowly. And when you're near a black hole, you see the rest of the universe unfold in rapid speed. And so, yeah, there's nothing special about the light that happens. It arrives to you at a different pace, depending on how deep into a gravitational well you are. And the reason why that orbit was chosen to be very close to the black hole was to maximize the time dilation. It's called time dilation, when you create this difference in the rate of time. By the way, that exists for our GPS satellites. We are closer to the center of the Earth than the GPS satellites are. So we experience slower time than they do. Yet we get our precise time from them. So when they send down their time from orbit, they pre-correct it for Einstein's general theory of relativity so that our time works at our location on Earth's surface.
Got it. So, in saying you're looking through the telescope, you're seeing things in slow motion, essentially? Is that
Well,
right?
if you're looking at their behavior on the planet, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because even if the guy, because light itself gets stretched, and so it looks like he's buffering, basically? Is that what we're saying?
Buffering. That's an interesting word to bring into relativity. I have to think about that. Just the timeline. So here's the thing. You are a prisoner of the present, forever transitioning between your inaccessible past and your unknowable future. That's all you know about your own timeline. There are other timelines that are proceeding at different paces than your timeline, depending on how fast they're moving in space relative to you, and depending on how much gravity they are subjected to. So time is not absolute. This was the big discovery of Einstein. Isaac Newton was turning in his grave upon hearing this. if you could
Right.
hear
Well,
it.
so who's present are we? It's basically like who's present are we talking about, right? Does this relativity? Does this mean there's no shared now? So the idea of watching someone age across frames is already kind of the wrong question in a way.
Yeah,
Like,
some of those questions, you're right. Some of those questions just kind of lose meaning. Like, what is the now for everybody if your timeline is unfolding more slowly than mine? Right?
Right, because you can't watch them age and fast forward because the universe won't let you skip ahead to the consequences.
It won't let you skip
right?
ahead, but you can watch a timeline unfold faster than yours.
And if time is that dilated, does that mean you couldn't actually watch him aging and fast forward because the light carrying that information is stretched and delayed as well? So the universe would...
Yeah, I think if you're tracking time, the stretching of the... So rather than think of stretching of the light, think of like pulses, right?
Got it.
And so what's the interval between pulses? And that's a nice way to sort of tick out the time. The pulses you would see down on the planet, I guess it was called Miller's Planet, I didn't remember the name of it.
Yes, Miller's.
If you all agreed, let's pulse every second. And then you see their pulses down there, and their pulses happen every 2 or 3 seconds, even though according to their watches, it's every 1 second. So it's not that the light stretches so much as the pace at which time unfolds shifts. And so, yeah, and they did it right. They did it right.
Mark Phillips of Florissant, Missouri. Hi, Dr. Tyson. This is Mark Phillips.
Florissant? That's a town.
Florissant, Florissant, or Florissant.
Oh, Florissant. Okay.
If we are living in a simulation, would you want to know? And would you choose to embrace your place or attempt to break the cycle and communicate to the overlords, knowing you, Neil, you'll need to communicate because it's got a lot of that.
I love that question.
And third part of the question, what would you wish to gain from contact with them? Or have you already and you are just controlling us?
I'm not authorized to comment. That's a great question. I love it. I embrace all objective truths, no matter what. I mean, it's not that long ago in the era of our grandparents, perhaps, where it was perfectly acceptable for the doctor to lie to you, to tell you you don't have terminal cancer and no, you're not going to be dead in 6 months. That was somehow accepted.
That's
That
right. You're
was-
right.
In fact, I think there was such a scene in, was it A Streetcar Named Desire? What's the story that has Big Daddy in it?
Oh, that's mendacity. That's Cat on a Hot Tin Roof.
Well, Cat on a Hot Tin, the Cat on a Hot Tin, I don't know why I confused those two. So Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, Big Daddy, or whatever his name was, he was told, everyone else knew he was going to die, and the doctor told him he was like just fine.
Right. That's
That
right.
is, to me, that is today completely unacceptable, at least for me. I want to know all truth so that I can reckon with that truth in whatever way I see fit.
Right.
To live a lie is to not fully be in touch with all that controls your life, all that matters, all that. So yeah, maybe that's because I'm a scientist. Some people just say, lie to me. Lie to me. That happens in a lot of politics, right? Lie to me. Tell me there is no global warming. Tell me we're not.
Right.
Tell me, just lie to me, and everything will be better. And that's okay temporarily, and then it catches up with you, and by then it's too late.
Yes.
So yeah, I would want to know if I was in a simulation.
I agree. I would want to know.
B, I totally want to talk to the overlords.
Absolutely. I want to talk to the manager. I have questions.
You want to be Karen,
First of
right?
all,
I want to speak to
first of
who's
all-
in charge.
Who's in charge? First of all, who picked my avatar? Why don't I have a better body? That would be one. You had infinite rendering power, and you chose to make me a guy who pulls a hamstring tying a shoe. That would be number 2. Why did you give me mild acid reflux? I have a lot of issues with this overlord person. And with our luck, it's a 14-year-old kid who gets like a AAA
It's an
plus.
alien kid. It is
It's
parents' basement. Yeah.
Listen, if we're in a simulation, I just want the patch notes. That's all I want, okay?
The programmer of the simulation in which we live gave you freedom to join a fitness center. which you haven't done. It is obvious to me you've never stepped into a fitness center in your
Wow.
life.
Okay. This is why I don't want to know all truths. This is why I want. There are some things I don't want to know. So what would you change?
No, question is, what would I ask? And I would ask, is every bit of this universe knowable through laws of physics? Or is there something you just got lazy programming and it will never make sense to anybody and no one can ever create a law for it because you just pulled it out of your ass? That's what I'd want to know. Because if they didn't, then I would still continue to explore the laws
Well,
of
it's
physics.
funny because in my mind, when I read this question before we came on the air, it was like it's sort of maybe the other side of the coin of what you just said, which is there only a simulation, or is there some being or power, ephemeral, ethereal, that has some hand in how we exist? Does that
I don't
being?
know that we would ever be able to deduce the difference.
Well, but could you? That's the point, right? So the simulation maybe only exists because of this greater power or being, right? You'll never know the answer to that.
Simulator is the greater powerful being.
Yeah, but that's
Deal with that.
but that's yeah, but we don't know what is a simulator or a human being? Is it an alien of some kind? Like who is the simulator?
Doesn't matter. I mean, I'm saying it's someone vastly smarter than us. That's all.
Whoa.
It's like an ant farm.
Speak for yourself, buddy, Mr. Insecure, low IQ guy. I can catch. First of all, in this one question, you told me I have arms like limp spaghetti noodles in terms of my body type, and I'm dumb as a stump. Is this how we're going to do the whole show, or is
No,
it
I
going
didn't
to
talk
end
about
here?
your arms. I didn't talk about your brain. You have a brilliant brain. And
Yeah,
spaghetti
right.
noodle arms. No, so that's what I would do. I would say, shall I continue as a scientist exploring the knowability of the universe? Or is there some point where you just gave up and it's all random? That's what I want to know. Here, it has good precedent. There was a day before Newton. You look up and the planets would move against the background stars and the moon and the sun. And no one really understood it. We could sort of trace it, but an understanding eluded us. But that was okay because the sky was the realm of God. And how could you possibly understand the mind of God? And then Isaac Newton says, here it is, there's three equations. And some accused Newton of heresy for stepping where previously only God had tread. And so in this case, is God a deity as known through religious texts? Or is God a programmer in an alien basement? In either case, whatever is going on is created by them and is vastly more complex than we are. And we're just inside of it, just poking the
Well,
edge.
what is it? I mean, if it's so sophisticated that it can create all of this, one question I would have in all seriousness is why have you created so many imperfections when you have this amazing ability to create this simulation?
Okay,
Right?
so I have
Like-
an answer to that. I have an answer. Okay. Just when everything is going fine, just when everything is going fine, the programmer gets bored. They say, let's throw in COVID.
Yes.
Stir the pot.
Yes.
Okay.
I know. Let's throw in the feature where Paul has to get up 3 times a night to pee. How about that? Let's throw that in there just to make it like,
That's TMI, Paul. I don't need to know about your bladder condition. So then we finally get through COVID. Okay. And we have the vaccine. Then a billionaire New York real estate developer becomes the most powerful person in the world. Stir the pot some more. If there were ever evidence that an alien programmer were in charge just for their entertainment, it is that.
Streaming on July 23rd, Star Trek Strange New Worlds returns with a brand new season exclusively on Paramount Plus. Get ready to boldly go one step closer to where it all began as Captain Christopher Pike and the crew of the USS Enterprise embark on thrilling new adventures across the galaxy. As they journey to strange new worlds, they battle inner demons and external threats, encounter colorful new characters, and reunite with familiar faces. Don't miss the brand new season of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, streaming on July 23rd exclusively Paramount Plus.
So, Paul, here's an interesting fact. If we reach the point where, in our exploration of the universe, where it's all random because the programmer got lazy, right? That's interesting. At that point, science loses all utility. Science exists only because something I figure out here applies over there. And I can predict its behavior, understand it, manipulate it, use it in the service of my own survival. If it were all random, there would be no such thing as science.
Well, but no, but couldn't you use science to help explore and try to explain the randomness and the chaos? Seriously.
So you want a scientist to say, okay, Paul, today your whole day will be chaotic. I predict that. Go forth. What are you expecting?
No. But you can't you make the argument that you can use science to sort of explain chaos? I mean, isn't
Not if
that
it's
there?
truly random. I mean, chaos is a very specific thing,
Right.
and mathematically, and the interesting thing about chaos is you can predict with precision how uncertain certain quantities will become over time. You can watch the chaotic regime unfold. This is what makes weather predicting so challenging, because there's so many variables: the heat from the sun, the absorption of the earth, reflectivity of the earth, the oceans, which are a different temperature from the land, how much moisture is in the air. All of these factors come together, and the more they come together and the more in the future you try to understand it, the more chaotic it becomes. So we try to get handles on it. That's why they say the models, we have this model, we have that model, and here's where they agree. So you go where they agree,
Right.
to try to boost your chances of understanding the objective reality of the system. But I'm just saying, if no laws discovered here apply over there, and it doesn't matter where here is, and it doesn't matter where there is, then that undermines the entire profession of science.
That makes it
And the fact that I tell you that on Earth as it is on the heavens, laws of physics of Earth apply to its planets, stars, galaxies, not only across space, but through time. That is not an assumption. That is a measurement we have made. And that's extraordinary. Is there any reason? Is there a tablet in the sky that says that must be so? I don't know. I'm delighted we live in a universe that it is so.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to the next question. This is Mikhail from Canada. Since it's around 3 Kelvin in space, could an asteroid be a superconductor? And if so, would it get stuck if it went too close to a huge magnetic field like the sun's or ours? There you go.
I love that question. Very clever. What's the person's name?
This is Mikhail.
Mikhail. So thank you for that question. Mikhail knows that metals, certain metals and other materials, when you reduce the temperature in which they're immersed, the behavior of electron changes so that they no longer act separately from one another. As the temperature drops, as they get cooler, the wavelength of each electron grows bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm simplifying this, but it's basically what's happening. Until the temperature's so low, whether it's a quantum phenomenon.
Was that absolute zero? Was that absolute zero?
It's 3 degrees above absolute zero, right?
Right, so no heat can be big enough.
When it gets to zero, right? So as you drop the temperature, the wavelength of the electrons gets bigger and bigger. Quantum mechanics dictates this to a point where the wavelength is so large, all the electrons behave as one electron because their waves overlap and synchronize. And when that happens, electrical current passes through without any resistance at all. And so it's called superconductivity. At 3 degrees, ought to get some superconductivity in some metals. I haven't checked the chart lately, and who goes superconducting at what temperature. Some go superconducting at even cooler than 3 degrees Kelvin. So let's start with that. So great question. I'd have to check my numbers to see who would be superconducting at those temperatures. A. B. It's not entirely 3 degrees if you're near a star. So the asteroids are orbiting the sun. Many of them are very dark. Sunlight gets absorbed, raising their temperature. So you're only going to hit 3 degrees like in intergalactic space. You're so far away from nearby stars that there's very little heat added to your rock temperature.
Jason Ashton from Liverpool. Liverpool.
The Beatles are from Liverpool, yeah.
Yes.
Wait, if he's from Liverpool, you have to read it with a Liverpool accent.
Oh, please. James.
No, that's not Liverpool. That's like Irish or something.
Yeah. Oh. The height of the Beatles. Yeah. I like you. You know, I had Paul McCartney on my podcast. You know, along with you.
I do know
You
that.
and I. Okay, let's move on. I've been a Patreon member for over a year, and finally have a question that is probably more basic than my and your expectations are. So I'm feeling a little bit dumb here. If the moon left Earth's orbit, would the oceans no longer have tides?
They would still have tides caused by the sun.
Yes.
The sun's tides are about 1/3 the strength of the moon's tides. Or to put more precisely, whatever is the height of the tide that you measure, 1/3 of that height is attributable to the sun.
Yeah, it's smaller, less dramatic. It's like what I like to call decaf gravity. It's like decaf. Yeah.
That works.
Right.
And what's more important here, and by the way, it's a perfectly legitimate question. I love it. And so, in fact, there's a whole book written by a colleague of mine called What If There Were No Moon? And then the whole book just goes and talks about the consequences of that. And we probably wouldn't have moons. Because they're based after the moon.
That's true.
Yeah, we have some other sort of reckoning of time. So the moon has the dominant tidal bulge, right? So there it is, and the Earth turns in and out of that bulge. That bulge is always there. However,
And it's always in the same place.
well, it's a little bit ahead of the moon in the moon's orbit, right? But we rotate faster than the moon's orbit around us, so we rotate into and out of the tidal bulge. And because the moon still moves around us, high tide shifts each day by about 45 or 50 minutes. Because of this effect, it's all one synchrony of
Because
time
of
and
the
space.
effect of the tidal bulge being slightly ahead of us.
It's slightly ahead of the moon, but the moon is orbiting the Earth. So how far does the moon go in a day? It goes about, 45, 50 minutes worth of your clock time around the Earth. So therefore the tidal bulge has shifted by that much. But that's not even my point. The bulge is always there. When we line up with the sun's high tide adds to the moon's high tide, and you get full moon high tides. So when people think the full moon has some extra tidal forces on us,
It's the sun. It's the
it's the
sun
sun
lighting up.
added to the moon's tide, and the moon's tide is just always there. When the sun adds to it, it's also a delusion. We think, the rays of the sun, the moon. We have werewolves. We have all lycanthropic stories that have been written. We've got all of this about moonlight. And plus, the moon is only reflected sunlight. So if the werewolf turns to werewolf under full moon, it should definitely do it under sunlight.
And a lot faster. And with a lot
And a lot
more hair. Bigger teeth, bigger fangs. But what is the, remind us, the full moon, high tide, which means sort of the sun and the moon have sort of aligned. That happens every how often? What is the frequency of that?
Once a month. Well, actually, twice a month. So it'll work for full moon because
Right.
Earth, Moon, and Sun are lined up, and it works for new moon where the moon is on the other side, and you get the tidal bulge. So you get the highest of the high tides during new moon and full moon. So people aren't thinking that the new moon has special powers, even though it's making tides just as high as full moon, because you can't see the moon. So people are very influenced by what they see and what they think is true, rather than all that they can't see and what we otherwise know is true.
And yeah, that is, yeah, there's a lot there. It's a sort of, hello from Flesherton, Ontario. Not going to be a part of the 51st state, Canada.
But we need your health care.
We need your health care, your pleasant qualities, your lovely manner with people, your maple syrup. We've only got a couple of states that really generate that. Come on, come on. That's it.
New Hampshire, yeah.
Maple syrup too. Yeah, Neil, my 13-year-old son was so blown away by our experience at your show, he wanted me to pass on this question. Why are your t-shirts so expensive after the show? No, that's not the question.
I don't have some t-shirts after the show. I have no merch. I mean, people said I should, but there's no merch. So
You sell those Neil deGrasse Tyson fit. You sell those Neil deGrasse Tyson fake mustaches for $15 each. I know. All right, Neil. My 13-year-old son was so blown away by our experience at your show. He wanted me to pass on this question. Could you ask if he thinks your memories and consciousness are made from atoms? Love you guys and keep the laughs coming. Andrew Nisker.
So, there's my favorite joke that's safe for elementary school.
Okay.
Never trust animals. They make up everything. That's safe for like third graders. We're good there. So, yeah, I mean, we so want to believe that there are forces and things going on that defy account or description or investigation by the laws of physics. That Earth is very strong. You might explain, language or whatever, but you'll never explain love. And I said, is it because you don't want us to ever explain love? Or do you have some reason for thinking that this is really true? So, a couple of things about our consciousness or our thoughts. Let's just talk about our thoughts. We have come to learn that the brain operates via electrochemical signals between the synapses of our nerve cells, of the brain cells. And there it is. By the way, the medical profession could not have known that before the discovery and the harnessing of electricity. Think about that. So much of physics has fed the medical profession's powers to diagnose and treat the human body, that if anyone says, okay, we're done with physics, now let's invest all in medicine, there's a limit to how far that'll go, given how much they've tapped discoveries by my people in my fields. Okay. So, when you know that thoughts are communicated through electrochemical signals, and then you stick a probe in there and stimulate a part of the brain that you know behaves in a certain way, and then you see the person react. You kind of know what's going on there.
Atoms are the building blocks of everything.
Atoms are the building blocks of cells, and the cells are the building blocks of our neurophysiology. Okay. But the real evidence here, because you can't just experiment on people's brains.
Really?
You can't do that.
All right.
Ethically.
Hang on a second. All right, let him go. We can't.
That's your kids. Your kids in the lockbox.
Yeah, get him out of the box and give him some peanuts and hit him with that. We can't do the experiment. Go ahead, sorry.
People who have mini strokes, right? So a stroke, a broken blood vessel, because oxygen doesn't get to a part of the brain. The mini strokes, the identity of the person begins to fade, depending on what part of the brain was touched by the stroke. And so, is it their facial recognition? Is it their spatial recognition? Is it their appetite for food? Is it their ability to speak? Is it their hearing, sight, locomotion? if you have a series of mini strokes, it's a piece of you basically disappearing. So everyone who says, what happens to your consciousness when you die? A series of mini strokes are mini deaths of your brain. And as far as we can tell, that's what's happening to you when you die. None of that works. So, no, that's not very comforting to people, especially not to religious people, have a whole story of what happens to you when you die. All I'm saying is you're going to ask a scientist to answer that question. The point is, once your brain ceases to undergo electrochemical changes, then you don't exist anymore. Everything we know about you no longer exists.
So, I mean, dementia is sort of in that family, right? So that,
For example, correct, and it's not even a stroke. I should have included.
Right, but it's in that family of, so my mother has it right now, and you can see there's just pieces of it. But the fascinating thing is her long-term memory is insanely accurate.
It's stored differently and possibly even in a different place.
I would introduce you to her, and 10 minutes later she'd be like, how do you know my son again? But then she can, in the same breath, relay a story when she was 12 of spending a day with her father with great exactitude. And so, is it the shifting of the atoms in the cells? Is it the shifting of the atoms in the cells that's happening there? Is it the death of some atoms in cells? Like, what is...
So the atoms don't have life or death. They just comprise larger molecules, and the cells are composed of molecules. So you can't blame atoms directly. You have to credit or blame the functioning of living tissue. Okay, that's really what it is. The atom is just an atom. Now, if I may, I mean no disrespect, but I heard this joke told by another comedian. So that if you're a comedian, being around people with dementia is excellent because you can tell the same joke every 10 minutes.
Absolutely.
It's a short-term memory dementia.
Right. It also helps with guilt because, like, you could say to your mother, well, I haven't seen you in a while. No, I was just here yesterday. Oh, that's right. You know what I mean? So, like, you don't have to feel so bad. Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, you're such a good son. I know. I was here yesterday and I painted the whole house.
The point is, atoms, everything that is not empty space or energy, photons, represents as particles in the universe. And certain combinations of particles we call atoms. If you have a nucleus and at least one electron, it's an atom. And so atoms comprise everything. That's hence the joke. Don't never trust atoms. They make up everything. If you go down to like a snowflake, and a snowflake is six-sided snowflake, it's a crystalline structure of the water molecule. Water is H2O. You break that apart, you have two hydrogen atoms, one oxygen atom. So atoms are everywhere. But atoms don't have agency. They just, they might want to combine with other atoms to make molecules. But it's a very simple, are we mating or not? It's not otherwise, let me give Paul Mercurio dreams. That happens based on life experience and leftover neurosynaptic history of your brain and stuff that was unresolved, trauma that might have happened in your life, joys. So, yeah, atoms are everywhere.
These days, we're used to getting things delivered on demand. Groceries, a new gadget, or the latest book, expanding your view of the universe. And now, you can add T-Mobile 5G home internet to that list. Just order from T-Mobile and enjoy same-day delivery with DoorDash. And you can set it up yourself in about 15 minutes. No advanced engineering degree required. That means more time doing the things you actually enjoy. Like streaming a space documentary or going down a rabbit hole about exoplanets, asteroids, or whatever's pulling your curiosity. And those online explorations are a lot easier with the fastest 5G home internet. So, if you're moving into a new place or just ready to upgrade your connection to something with more advanced, visit t-mobile.com/home internet to check availability and get your 5G internet delivered today. Same day delivery for most internet-eligible customers if it's an option during checkout. Fastest according to Ookla Speed Test Intelligence data, second half 2025. The rights reserved.
So, Paul, we got enough time for like a lightning round.
Hey, this is Todd Chambers from Yuba City, California. In the system of the universe, what is or are the purposes of a black hole? Do they recycle matter and energy?
To speak of purpose implies intent, and in physics, we generally don't think of the universe as having intent. They're just laws and forces, and things flow according to those forces, guided by the laws of physics as we come to describe them. So you can ask what role they play, and if you wander too close to a black hole, that's all she wrote. You get pulled in, spaghettified, and you won't be able to tell anybody about it. So to think of a role, no, the roles, there are no roles. There's just what it does. And by the way, if the sun became a black hole today, Earth would plunge into darkness. But we can still continue to orbit around it in just the same way we are right now.
We wouldn't be pulled in,
Yeah, black holes are not giant sucking machines.
but there's stronger gravitational force.
Only at its surface.
Don't disagree with me. You don't know what you're talking about.
I'm not disagreeing with you, I'm just simply saying you're wrong. There's a difference. Big politicians will disagree.
Yes.
If one person is wrong, you're just wrong. It's not that we disagree.
It's flat out wrong. Okay. All right.
So it doesn't become a giant sucking machine. We speak of the high gravity of the black hole because of the high surface gravity. Because the black hole's so small, you get really close to its center, and that's where the extreme gravitational phenomenon occurs.
Got it. Okay. Lightning round. We'll keep going here. Liam Corcoran. Hi, Neil. This is Liam from Rhode Island, my home state, the best little state in the union. Is there anywhere in the universe that you could be outside the gravitational influence of any matter besides your own? And would this be the closest you could get to experiencing pure space-time, totally unwarped by matter?
I love that question. So, there is... Oh, I forgot what the metric is called. There are approximations we make when we're doing some calculations. We assume space has no matter or energy in it, so it's perfectly flat. Okay? And then you can do some calculations more easily than if you admit that there are stars or planets or black holes distorting that space-time. The mathematics becomes much more complicated if space-time is curved than if it's flat. So now, in 1968, if memory serves, Walter Cronkite, the anchor for CBS News, was describing in December the voyage of Apollo 8 to the moon. And he says, as of 9:22 this afternoon, Apollo 8 astronauts have left the gravity of Earth. And I remember hearing it, it's like, they're on their way to the moon. And last I checked, the moon orbits Earth. So I know what he meant, but that's not what he should have said. Okay? What he meant was we reached a point where the moon's gravity, pulling it in, is stronger than our gravity trying to come back to Earth. So that the moon's gravity takes over and it just falls towards the moon. That's not the end of Earth's gravity extends to infinity, as does every other gravitational field. You cannot escape the extent of gravity, no matter what.
But it weakens over time. The farther you get away from Earth, it dissipates in strength.
It's weaker and weaker until it's like a zero. That's for everything. Sun, galaxy cluster, it's everything.
My name is Emily from Berkeley. I am a first-time poster. I hope this is an interesting question. Many times when people talk about particle pairs being separated at the outer surface of black holes, where one half of the pair is on the outside and one half is doomed to the inside, they will say that it should be theoretically possible to reconstruct the information that fell into the black hole. Why is it important to theoretically retain this possibility?
Oh, this comes from information theory. Because there's a certain amount of information And if you fall into a black hole, was the information destroyed? That's the question. And so there's a big debate about information. Information theory is relatively new. You know, it's sort of, well, it comes out of entropy. So in the last 100 years or so, especially in the last 50 years, puts it in the 1970s, I guess. Wow, yeah. And if you believe or want it to be so, that information is never destroyed, then when the black hole later evaporates, it should be due by Hawking radiation. Well, that is the way it evaporates, okay? So that particle pair is conjured out of the gravitational field. And if you took an inventory of the particles that appear out of the gravitational field of the black hole, they will exactly match everything the black hole has ever eaten in its life.
How so?
Well, what's freaky is it's not the same particle coming out that survived the trip in and survived the trip out. Particles are being created from the energy field of the black hole. Energy is created, and it has a memory of what was there before. That's tantamount to preserving the information that went in. So now there's a little bit that I'm unsure of. We have to bring Janet Levin on this. If you throw in a DNA molecule, there's a lot of information. There's your whole identity. It's not going to come back out as a DNA molecule in particle pairs. No. So where's the information?
It'll come back altered in some way.
It won't come back as a molecule at all. It'll come back as particles. So how do I recover the information that the DNA molecule contained as a representation of you? I don't have an answer for that. We've got to check with either one of the two Brians or with Janet Levin, and then we'll bring it back on.
Don't worry about it. I got it.
You got this.
Yeah. What happens is it goes in and there's centrifugal force that happens along with a certain level of radiation red wave, and then you get your thing. All right, moving on. Mercedes Dominguez. Hello, Mercedes here from Denver, Colorado. I've heard of the cosmic web before. My question is that a real thing? And if so, what is it?
Yeah, so it's just a word that we apply to how we find the galaxies configured in the universe. So galaxies are not evenly separated. There's gravity operating, and there were some fluctuations in the early universe that preloaded some parts of the universe relative to others. When you step back and take a look at it all, you see this sort of network of filaments and clusters, and it's as though you took a sponge, cut it in half, looked like a nice thick sponge, cut it in half, and looked at the textures and structures. There are places where the fibers meet, there are other places where it's empty.
It's almost like a honeycomb in a way, not as symmetrical, but in that way.
Not as structured. Correct.
So the galaxies aren't sprinkled evenly. They line up along huge strands of matter, mostly dark matter, with these like empty voids in between, and it looks like a three-dimensional spider web in a way.
Or a sponge. Yeah, I mean, cosmic web sounds a little more romanticized than cosmic sponge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a tough sell to the, yeah. But the point is the universe isn't random, it's organized. I mean, it's not like Pinterest organized.
Organized. I mean, gravity collects it.
It's like a garage with stuff piled into the corners of every possible spot.
That's a good point. In fact, here's an interesting phenomenon. If you look at a movie where they show a scene in the fall, basically there's set designers scattering leaves onto the street. Okay, if it's not actually in the fall. What they always get wrong is they try to scatter the leaves evenly on the street. It's never that. A breeze comes by and it piles into one corner, some other new leaves fall down, but it's never evenly distributed. You can always tell, because people don't understand random. They think random is scattered everywhere. Random has clumps. That's how that is. So I can always tell if they fake the street
for that reason.
But science can't answer the randomness question here, right? Like that to me is the fascinating thing here. Is sort of organized. It's in a way organized chaos. Maybe that's not the right technical term, but
forces of gravity are operating. So there's nothing more mysterious than that. And dark matter is mysterious. We don't know what that is, but that's operating on gravitational field around which all of this is collecting. So we speak of that entire map of the universe as the cosmic web. So Paul, that's all the time we have. Plus, I think I hear your mother calling you. Lunch.
Mom, meatloaf! It's great to be on with you.
Yes, man. And keep us posted on the end of Colbert or the end of Days.
Oh, you'll know because I'm gonna be I'm coming up to your neck of the woods. I'm doing landscaping after this. I need the money, buddy. Can you buy a place and get a lawn so I can cut it? I need to. Come on, be a friend, will you, Neil?
I will work on it.
All right.
All right, Paul. Mercurio. Always good to have you.
Yeah, always great. Chubby Terry Crews.
This has been another installment of Cosmic Queries Grant Bag with Paul Mercurio, Neil deGrasse Tyson, as always, bidding you to keep looking up. Chuck, let me catch you up on airplanes.
Okay, please. I'm not flying right now because, airline prices are through the roof.
Okay, that's a different reason why some other people don't fly.
Yes.
It's just a little spooked. So, the things that have happened slowly that you just might not have noticed. But I paid close attention to this, and I want to share some of it with you. All right, okay. Where is the place where you go get on the airplane? They call that the what?
The airport.
No, that's it, yes. No. But you say, where my plane departs from gate. Is there a gate there? No. You know where gate comes from? Because there didn't used to be terminals.
Oh.
There was just, you'd walk out, and there's a gate there.
Like Greyhound? Trailways and stuff.
So there was a gate, a literal gate. You lock it open, and you walk out and walk up the steps onto the airplane.
Yes.
Okay?
Right.
So we no longer walk through gates. We still call them that.
Yes, we do.
And I love words that just are left over.
Yeah.
I like them because it harkens back to an earlier age.
I'm more simple to me.
A couple of other things. The wings are also fuel tanks.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's why if a plane hits something that breaks out the wing, flames
it blows up. Yeah.
It's not just some fuel tank sitting up next to your luggage,
right,
in the belly. Okay?
It's not a Jerry Bruckheimer thing.
Other things, just little things, things to notice.
All right.
Okay? Up in first class, on long haul flights, they're lay flat seats.
I wouldn't know.
Nope, stop. That was an appeal for a raise. Do you know the word to tessellate?
To tessellate? I've heard it.
It's a fun word.
It's a fun word.
All right, so here it is. If you're going to tile a floor,
right,
and your tiles are square, then that's easy. You just lay it out. Right. But suppose you have a different shape. Suppose you have the shape of like a penguin, and that's your tile. How do you tile that? Well, you can design the penguin shape so that they can fit opposite each other. Okay? And then they blend in, and everybody still fits.
Okay.
That's tessellating. When you tessellate, you take a shape and have it work its way into another identical shape, but on a different side, and then you can still cover the floor.
All right.
Okay? So in first class, lay flat, you're tessellated to maximize how many they can put in while still preserving
the lay flat.
The lay flat and a little bit of your privacy. Okay. Put up a little partition. So next time, if you're walking through first class,
yes,
to your coach seat.
Right. And by the way, when I walk through first class, I look down on everybody, just like,
So So just watch for it. They all haven't done it, but those who did are maximizing how much
space they can put in. They can utilize how much space they can utilize.
Right. More things. The door is not an ordinary door. You might have noticed that.
Well, I fly Frontier, so it's a screen door.
So the door is designed to close from the inside out, not from the outside in. Okay? Yes, when you board, the door is sitting outside the plane.
Right.
However, when they close it, it comes inside the plane and then recloses against it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay?
And I'm very happy it does that.
Let me tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because at 35,000 feet, there's hardly any air pressure outside.
Right. So what you're doing is using the pressure of the cabin to push against the door,
Keeping it
closed.
Correct.
Right.
So that's why it closes that way.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is the air pressure? Well, when you're just down there, like at LaGuardia Airport, you're at sea level. The doors open at sea level outside, sea level inside.
Okay.
Now they take off. And you feel the pressure change in your ear.
Yes, exactly. You also hear it in the little baby that's behind you. Like crazy.
So that pressure change is on purpose. They could leave the cabin at sea level pressure, but they don't.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't have to.
Oh.
Because if you left it at sea level pressure, and then you go up to hardly any pressure at 30,000 feet, fuselage has to now contain this high pressure on the inside. So why force the fuselage to contain any more pressure than it has to?
Well, yeah.
So
you
they-
also don't need materials that have to do that. You can have a lighter plane.
Yes, that's the primary reason.
Oh,
Okay. Yes. Not only because the stronger the plane, usually the heavier it is.
Right.
So you don't need to do it. So they drop the air pressure, and based on my experiments, they drop it to about a mile high air pressure. So Denver.
Yeah.
Okay. When you're in Denver, you're not. I need air. So you drop it to that. You still have plenty of oxygen,
Right.
but you don't have enough oxygen to like run the marathon.
Right. Yes.
Are you on the airplane? No.
No.
You're not doing jumping jacks. You're not doing calisthenics. You're just sitting there.
Exactly.
You don't need that extra oxygen from the sea level air pressure. So they drop it to that, and that's the pressure that's keeping the door shut, and that's the pressure that is easier on the rivets of the fuselage.
Very cool.
Okay?
I like it.
Now, because the pressure dropped, and because you bought your bag of potato chips at sea level,
Right.
watch what happens as you ascend, and they drop the pressure of the cabin. What happens here?
Well, your back kind of blows up a little bit.
It gets puffy.
A little puffy.
It gets puffy.
Yes. It gets a little puffy, but not a little ditty.
And through this experiment, you're coming in Denver, okay? Your ears don't pop.
Oh, wow. I was just there.
Because you're going from a mile up, and they open the door, you're a mile
Oh,
up.
you're still a mile up.
You're still letting the ears are just walking.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Another thing is, they finally figured out how to do this. And it required computers flying the airplane. Okay? When I first took physics, I said, why don't they do this on the airplanes? This is a human beings. We're flying them. All right? Once a computer can fly them, here's what you can do. You could bank a turn, knowing what the radius of curvature of your turn is. That means if it's an arc, what is that radius? That goes into equation. Okay? Then there's how fast are you going? That goes into an equation. Then there's what is the bank angle of your vessel? That goes into an equation. Those three variables can conspire so that you in the plane will not know you're turning.
Oh, cool. Right.
So that your, quote, gravity vector remains straight down from your head through your seat of your pants. Okay? If that's the case, you have your glass of wine there, and in the old days, they make a turn, the glass would slide, the wine would pitch at an angle inside the glass. Now, because of that calculation, everything is flat. And the plane can do a 180, and you would not know it unless you were looking out the window. So I'm not saying the pilot couldn't figure out how to do it.
Right. Or that they couldn't do it at all.
Or do it. But a computer
Believe
will
me.
do it every time.
And do it better.
A few more things.
Okay.
Every now and then someone asks me, how come when they jump in the aisle of an airplane, they don't end up pressed against the back bathrooms in the back of the plane.
Okay, yes.
If it's going 500 miles an hour,
Right.
why doesn't that happen?
Yes.
Okay. And it's an honest, innocent question. It's very Aristotelian, actually.
Oh, Aristotelian.
Here's the thing. You're standing there in the airplane. The airplane's going 500 miles an hour.
Right.
How fast are you going?
500 miles an hour.
500 miles an hour. You jump up,
Right.
you're still going 500 miles an hour. You land, you're going 500 miles an hour. Everybody's going 500 miles an hour.
There you go.
That's the same thing that's happening on Earth.
Right.
People were saying, if Earth is in motion, when I jump up,
How come the whole city doesn't just go by me?
correct.
Right.
Okay? Not correct. That's not correct.
Right. No, that's what they
But
said.
again, that's the naive assumption.
Right.
That just somehow things will leave you behind.
Right.
All right. So, the dangerous part of flying, other than a crash, is not how fast the plane is going.
Okay.
It's how fast is the speed of the plane changing.
Yeah.
Okay? If the speed of the plane is changing and you jump up, the plane is going a different speed when you land than when you ascended. It's either going faster or slower.
That's a bad problem.
Okay? Then you will not land where you
Where you took off.
Where you took off.
Right.
Okay? That is an acceleration.
Yes.
Okay? So while the plane is accelerating on the runway, if you stand up and jump, okay, you're going to end up farther back. And as you left the plane at one speed, landed on another speed, and you were in a different place and the plane was getting faster. Okay? Same when the plane lands. So this is why they want you to put your seatbelt on.
Yeah.
When you're taking off and landing, because that's when it's accelerating. When it's cruising 500 miles an hour, that's not when you need your seatbelt.
Right. All right.
Okay?
Yeah.
And if it enters an area of turbulence, they usually know because there's a plane in front of them that went through it, put it on, and then what is turbulence? If not, changes in the speed of the plane.
Absolutely.
However minute.
Yeah.
Okay, so a few more things. If you ever sit over the wing, okay, you'll notice that on takeoff, the wing is a particular size because the wing can change its shape. Maybe you never noticed it. Look next time.
You mean the actual
Front to back.
Oh yeah.
Size of the wing.
Oh god, yes. Definitely.
Okay, so
yeah, it goes like it goes.
Yeah, you hear. Exactly. Okay, so the size of the wing at takeoff maximizes the lift. Because it needs that, because it gets to get off the freaking ground.
Right.
Okay? As it gains speed, it no longer needs that much lift.
Okay.
So the wings shrink back into size. And when it is finally cruising, it is at the much smaller size, and that's because the bigger that lift, the more there's drag. There's drag on the plane. Okay? So give me the sound effects.
So by shrinking the width of the wing, you're reducing the drag, which is less expensive of a flight for them.
Yes. You know what else is less expensive?
What's that?
These little things on the wingtips.
Oh yeah, the wings on the wings.
Yeah, you've seen that? That's a new thing.
Yeah.
That's like last 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
You know where that came from?
No.
The first A.
I don't know what that is.
The first A.
A.
Not the second A, the first A.
The first A.
In NASA.
Oh! National Aeronautics. There you go.
NASA's not just some
space, right.
It's also how you get through the air. And so some research in NASA showed that you can reduce wingtip turbulence by having a little thing sticking out the edge.
Cool.
And that reduces some of the drag on the wing, and it is saved. Now, I calculated how much fuel it saved. It wasn't enough to completely justify NASA's full budget, right? But it's still saving companies money, right? And so it's government money spent in the interest of private enterprise.
Look at that.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
So that's what these are. Okay. But also, all these surfaces of an airplane around,
Right.
if the plane wanted to go faster than sound,
Right.
that's not going to that's you.
That's not good.
It's not. Because you are moving faster than an air molecule can get out of your way.
Oh, that's not cool.
It just sounds bad.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, that's not good at
So, supersonic planes have pointy noses.
That's right.
It's a pointy nose so that it can basically punch through the air molecules, not waiting for them to part for you. couple other things. Let's go back to your screen door.
Yes.
Okay. Let's say a hole happens in the side of the plane. Okay. The plane depressurizes.
Correct.
These masks only of use to you if the plane is above an elevation where there's hardly any oxygen for you to breathe. If the plane is flying at 12,000 feet, 10,000 feet, there's not much oxygen. It's just windy. It's just windy. Okay. So that's what these are for. And so the plane will generally try to get to a lower altitude.
Right.
So that you can breathe. So that you can breathe, and then nobody has to use the things. Okay. What they love showing in these disaster movies, the hole opens up, and there's gale force winds, but people grabbing on, and
there's always one stewardess who's holding on, and there's like, give me your hand! And I'm like, no, I'm holding on.
The point is, what wind is that? That's getting people blowing sideways off the thing.
Right.
That's simply the air that's in the cabin
Rushing out.
And you've been in heavy winds before, okay? What does the wind do when it hits you?
I don't know, because
it goes around you.
Of course it does.
Okay?
Yeah.
The wind wants to get out the thing.
Right.
If I'm standing there and I'm holding onto the chair, it's not going to blow me sideways.
It's
It's going to go around. It's just going to go around.
So all you need to do is this.
So most of the people getting blown out the airplane, that's not
going to really happen. Yeah. Also, too, once it's depressurized, there's no more.
Yeah.
There's nothing else to suck you
the
out.
more wind that goes out, the less windy that
Right.
Right. It's not just some continuous thing.
Yeah.
So when you're within 10 miles of your airport, coming in for landing, listen for the deployment of the wheels.
Of course.
Okay? There'll be a sound for it. So when that happens, the sound of the plane is twice as loud.
Yes, it is.
But listen for it.
Yeah.
Okay?
No, it rumbles.
It rumbles.
Yeah.
That's because this air trying to look, dude. This is a wheel. I can't get around the wheel.
Right.
What are you doing here?
Yeah.
The wheels are not aerodynamic the way the fuselage body is.
Right.
So there's turbulence there. The plane doesn't mind it because it's trying to slow down anyway.
Right.
But I'm just saying, you hear the difference in the efficiency of air moving over the surfaces and the sound that it makes when it deploys its wheels. I notice it every single time.
That's cool.
But if you're not looking for it, you'll miss it.
Yeah.
Then it's landing. How does it stop? Do they just put on the brakes? They have brakes.
Okay.
But if you stepped on the brakes with a 300-ton, how much they weigh, airplane,
Yeah. It just come off the wheels.
with a rubber. That's not how that works.
That's not good.
Okay, that's not good.
Yeah, that's not good.
I know it's got a lot of wheels, but that ain't how that happens.
Yeah.
Okay, so when it comes out, take a look at the wing again. The wing gets big again.
Yeah.
Because it wants lift, not to take off, but just not to fall down quickly.
Right.
And the moment it hits the runway, there are flaps that come up.
All of it. Yeah.
They flip up.
Yeah.
So that's direct friction.
Air brakes.
Basically air braking.
Yeah.
At that point. Oh, and I left out, they reverse the thrust on the engines.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right, they don't reverse the engine, they reverse the thrust. So there's a part of the engine that slides back, and there are these vents. And if you could see the air would be pushing forward rather than backwards.
That's cool.
So it's got the up flaps, the bigger wing. It was slowing down en route anyway because it wasn't using its engines. And you have the reverse thrust. And that's why the engines get really loud when that happens. Yeah.
Very cool.
Another thing, there's so much weight in fuel carried by the airplane that when it takes off, generally it can't land on the same runway. It would take too much. Once it's airborne,
Oh, yeah.
it can't come back and land. It has to dump fuel and then come and land.
Oh, wow. Oh, because it's so heavy.
It's so heavy.
Right.
It's so heavy.
Yeah,
it
that'll
can't
screw up the landing.
screw up the landing.
Oh, my God.
That's right. And part of your ability to stop is, well, how thick is the air that I'm stopping in?
Right.
Okay? Airports at high elevation have longer runways because it takes longer to take off because you need the lift of the air, but ain't much air.
Not a lot of air.
Not a lot of air. You got to go faster in the air to get the same lift you would have otherwise.
Right.
If your airspeed is what matters for takeoff, are you going to take off with the wind or against them?
Against
the wind.
because you want the lift.
You want the maximum difference in speed between you and the air.
Right.
And if you're moving with the wind,
Right.
that eats up the speed that you've been trying to get for yourself.
Right.
If the wind is going 40 miles an hour and you're going 40 miles an hour, you have zero lift because you're both moving together.
Right.
Okay, so that's what the windsock is for. That big old orange thing.
Yes.
You know what the hell that thing is?
Yeah.
And of course, they know
Turns around.
They know from meteorological data.
Let's hope. Let's hope they're not using a sock. Should we take off? What's the sock say?
So anytime you're coming in for a landing or take off, take a look at the windsock, and it will be blowing opposite the direction you're either taking off or landing in.
Very cool.
Yeah. The runways, they're in one direction like that. There's always another runway at an angle.
Yes.
Not at right
Not
angles.
right angle.
And at
It
some
looks
other
almost like
angle.
an offshoot. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that if you look at all the possible directions wind will blow, you're pretty much covered when that happens. Okay? Yeah, and you do very well with that kind of angle orientation.
Okay.
I forget, is it a 30 degrees? Not quite 45, but you can do the math and show you've maximized the number of situations you can successfully take off. Yeah. Little things to notice.
These are good. I like them all.
Yeah!
Yeah.
Last point.
Okay.
Since 1969,
Okay.
planes have been slowly getting quieter.
Uh-huh.
There was no big announcement. There was no headline. There was none of that. They've just been slowly getting quieter so that now planes are flying overhead all the time.
You don't even know it.
I even remember we would be filming for I forget, for Nova, now 25 years ago. We're just in the streets. And we say, we're going to pause because there's a plane going over. Plane. And now you don't even know if there's a plane going overhead. If you saw it, you would say, yeah, I guess I can hear that. But so I just a shout out to engineers who have figured out how to sort of maximize noise abatement. What that also means is your quality of life, if you live near an airport, is higher.
Right.
Okay? And the engines are more powerful, so that in the old days, once the plane took off, it had to kind of still stay low before it could achieve elevation. Nowadays, you're in a plane, right when it clears the runway,
Yeah.
there's a slope change.
You feel it.
So the sooner that it gets higher, the less noisy it is on the ground.
That's cool.
Yes.
That's very considerate of them.
Very considerate, exactly. So these are other ways of noise abatement. And it saddens me that in the vicinity of many airports, you know what you find?
What?
Yeah, the prisons. Detention centers and prisons.
Right, because their quality of life doesn't matter.
Yeah, because
Nobody cares about them.
Right. So, we're done here, dude.
Oh, that was great.
This went too long.
Who cares? That was a lot of good stuff.
Neil deGrasse Tyson here with yet another installment of the Star Talk Explainer. As always, keep looking up. There's the value of sleep as a restorative force on our bodies. What is the value of dreaming?
Dreaming provides a form of informational alchemy. It's like group therapy for memories. Dream sleep gathers all of these same people and it forces you to speak to the people at the back of the room that you don't think you've got any association with whatsoever. Because when you start to fuse things together that shouldn't normally go together, they cause a marked advance in evolution and fitness. That sounds like the basis of biology and creativity. And so that's one of the functions of dreaming.
Well, it would have to be, especially when you have associations like a zebra in women's lingerie smoking a cigar while drinking a martini. Not that I had that dream.
Is it the friend?
This is Star Talk Special Edition, which means I got Gary O'Reilly here.
Hi, Neil.
All right, Adjunct Nice, baby.
That's right.
And we've been calling you Lord of Nice, not just Lord Nice.
The Lord of Nice.
That is very nice, Jake. So, Gary, we're talking about sleep today. I'm told,
Oh, yes.
which is, people spend like a third of their life doing just that.
I know. If you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
If you don't have kids, you spend a third.
I mean, I sleep like absolute dog crap. So
I don't know what that means, but
can you guess?
I haven't checked how much dog crap sleep. So, what do you got for the show today?
All right, sleep, as we've decided, is an integral part of our daily lives. It's weird. It can transport us into a psychotic state. It can even leave us experiencing time dilation and can heal us. It's anyway, the last time we had a sleep expert on, our audience were very, very impressed. And so it's been a couple of years in the making, but we have brought him back, along with him, our audience's curiosities. Some questions from our audience tagged on to our conversation.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So let us introduce our returning champion, sleep champion number 10 again, Professor Matt Walker. Matt, welcome back to Star Talk.
It's lovely to be back, gents. Thank you so much for having me.
Excellent. And with last we caught up with you, you were at UC Berkeley, just tearing down the house. But you've got new digs. What's the latest with you?
I have shifted. I am now a professor of neuroscience and biomedical engineering at UT Dallas at the Center for Brain Health. And here I'm starting a new center for advanced brain performance and sleep innovation. So I thought I would try and mix it up a little bit. And
Wait. Advanced brain performance while you're sleeping? Or is that a separate thing from sleeping?
it's 24 hours, so we're going to try to augment the human brain both when we are wide awake as well as when we are sleeping.
Okay, now you're spooking me out here. Augment, I think, is what spooks me a little bit.
That's gonna make some zombies.
You've also been a TED Talker, and you've got the podcast, the Matt Walker podcast. You couldn't be a little more creative than that?
I know, it took years to come to that creative decision. It was the marketing, the research that was spent just to come up with that task. You know, I mean, I thought it was borderline genius. There's so much going on in that title, isn't there? Really, the depth of it, which reflects my own personality. I am desperately shallow, but I have a very deep surface.
There you go. Okay.
Desperately shallow with a deep surface. See what I did?
So what we want to know is it's been a couple of years. What's some new sleep research over those couple of years? And what a lingering question that I've just always had is, why do we need sleep at all? Is it too early in the show to start off with that question?
You went there.
I did. I kind of went there. Because I think about aliens if they visit us, and then you say, "Excuse me, Mr. Alien, I have to lie down horizontally and go semi-comatose for 1/3 of Earth's rotation. I'll be back to you." The alien might just look at you like, "What the hell's wrong with you?" And so, could you reflect on this so that when the alien comes, I'll have an excuse?
Arguably the best question I've ever received in my entire career. Let me try. So I love the way that you frame it, because imagine the birth of your first child, and the doctor comes into the room and says, "Congratulations, healthy baby girl, everything looks good, we've done all of the tests." And they're walking out the room, and just before they exit, they turn around to you, maybe like the alien, and they say, "There is just one thing though. From this moment forward, and for the rest of your child's entire life, they are going to lapse into a state of non-consciousness. It's going to look like death, but don't worry, it's reversible. And whilst their body lies still, their mind will be filled with bizarre hallucinogenic experiences. And we have absolutely no idea why this happens. Good luck, take care. All the best."
Well, my response would be, I'll have what the baby's having. Sign me up for that. That sounds really damn good.
But it's so perplexing, because from an evolutionary perspective, sleep is the most idiotic of all behaviors. You're not finding a mate, you're not reproducing, you're not foraging for food, you're not caring for your young, and you're vulnerable to predation. On every one of those 5 grounds, sleep should have been strongly selected against in the course of evolution, unless it serves an absolutely vital set of functions. And 50 years ago, to your question, we used to say, well, why do we sleep? And the best answer we had was, we sleep to cure sleepiness, which is the idiotic equivalent of saying that we eat to cure hunger. No, we eat for all sorts of physiological reasons. Now, 50 years later, based on the wealth of data, we've had to upend the question and ask, is there any major physiological system of your body, or is there any operation of your mind that isn't wonderfully enhanced by sleep when you get it, or demonstrably impaired when you don't get enough? And so far the answer seems to be no. And we can dive into the different functions, but I would say to your first part of the question, what's kind of fresh and new or just amazing? I would say two things. The first, we've been looking at what we call genetic short sleepers. So these are people who, based on the evidence, can get away with as little as about 5 to 6 hours of sleep and show no impairment in their brain or their body. Whereas everyone else, it's a nosedive like a dart into the ground in terms of functions.
I fear I may be one of those, by the way. Because I'm completely content with 5.5 hours of sleep.
Yeah, but you can also sleep anywhere at any time.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's a giveaway, actually.
But don't keep describing, because then he's going to have a word for it.
Yeah.
And I worry when anytime they have a word for something I do.
It's called a Tyson nap.
Keep going, man.
I was going to say we call it chronic sleep deprivation, but I mean, if you can actually fall asleep rapidly almost anywhere, sometimes we wonder, is there a lingering sleep debt somewhere in the system where you have such a pressure for sleep that literally you can sleep, within a heartbeat? That tends to bring a few sort of warning bells. But I mean, most people, like Neil would say, I wonder if I'm one of those sleepers. Just to put it in context, statistically, based on the evidence, you're more likely to be struck by lightning in your lifetime than you are to be one of these genetic short sleepers, the probability of which is very small.
Have you been struck by lightning?
No, he didn't say both would happen to you. He's comparing two separate statistical
Maybe
facts.
that's the progression. You get struck by lightning and then you can't go to sleep. That's it.
That is not what the man said. Okay, we can continue.
That's what we call augmenting the human brain with a bolt of lightning. Yeah.
And there's at least one movie on that phenomenon with John Travolta. Yes, he's hit by lightning and he turns completely brilliant.
Get out.
And he can predict earthquakes and move stuff with his hands and things.
But we're actually just coming back to, we're doing a mini version of that. We've actually developed a headband which inserts a small amount of voltage into the brain, and it's so small you typically don't feel it, but it has a measurable impact on your brain waves. And what we've managed to do is create a stimulation protocol. We just wear it for 10 minutes before bed, and it's like a child on a swing. They're moving their feet and nothing happens. But if you start pushing them and giving them some momentum, at some point you can stop pushing them and they keep swinging. And that's what we're doing with the brain. We're sort of singing in time with your electrical brain waves, and we're amplifying those brain waves. It's almost like electrically fertilizing the soil on your prefrontal cortex, so that when you go into sleep, you germinate more powerful deep slow brain waves. So it's quite far away from John Travolta's experience in terms of the voltage magnitude, but not dissimilar. But coming back to the short sleepers, sorry, I keep losing track. What this tells us is something absolutely remarkable. Not just that this exists and there's a genetic modification for it, but it means that somewhere along the way, Mother Nature has figured out how to zip file sleep. She's been able to essentially compress 8 down into 6. And if we can start to find out the mechanisms, or when they're digging into this now, we think we've got some good understanding as to how these genetic sort of mutants are able to accomplish this shorter sleep. What that means is that maybe you think about, a world of CRISPR and gene editing. Could it be that at some point everyone selects to be a genetic short sleeper?
Let me ask you this, man, based on what you just said. Is it possible that the genetic anomaly, this mutation...
Stop calling me a mutation.
Is it possible that the Tyson mutant gene... Turn him into an X-Man. The most obscure X-Man ever. Tyson, what's your power? Watch. Just in 8 hours. Okay. Okay.
That's so cruel to you. I'm so sorry.
Okay, get no respect. Okay. Is it possible that when you find this anomaly, that you may not be able to make that a reality for every other person, because sometimes genes are expressed in sets, not just one particular gene? especially when it comes to mutations like that.
Yeah, so the nice thing is that we've been able to identify exactly which specific gene. In fact, there are actually, right now, there are 4 of these genetic short sleeping genes. If you want to select from the sort of catalog menu that I'm sure is going to be on offer anytime in the next 10 years, maybe go for what's called the DEC2 gene, DEC2 gene. It's one of the shorter sleeping genes, genetic mutations. But yes, you don't have to run into that problem because of the selectivity and specificity of the gene identified right in there.
Are you serious? I mean,
He's a professor, of course
I'm
he's
trying to
serious.
listen. Hey, Matt, this is all I'm saying. I'm gonna email you offline. I need in on this. Do you know how much money you're saving on? Like, people don't, like, you don't need stimulants. You don't need, like, you're actually getting what you need in the amount of time that you're supposed to get it. You just shorten what the time the brain needs to regenerate for that coming day. That's insane.
Exactly, yeah. Isn't that amazing as a concept?
Yeah, absolutely. Do we take this to the nth degree and say, well, we can reprogram our brains to need no sleep at all? Is that too far out, or is that achievable?
That's too weird.
It's an interesting concept.
Would you want to stay up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week if you could? Now, believe me, I used to do meth, so I have done it. But thank you for laughing at that, Matt, because these two are just as silent as church mouses right now.
Tumbleweeds. I can see them across the screen right
We're
now.
not laughing at your meth jokes, Chuck. I'm sorry.
He's in Texas now, too, gets to reference tumbleweed. You see, that's how that works.
But would I want to? I don't know. There's something magical about the state of the deep sense of relaxation and restoration that I feel when I come out of deep sleep, but also dreaming. I would be so sad to lose the optionality of dreaming. So I don't think I'd work.
These days, we're used to getting things delivered on demand. Groceries and a gadget or the latest book, expanding your view of the universe. And now, you can add T-Mobile 5G home internet to that list. Just order for T-Mobile and enjoy same-day delivery with DoorDash. And you can set it up yourself in about 15 minutes. No advanced engineering degree required. That means more time doing the things you actually enjoy, like streaming a space documentary or going down a rabbit hole about exoplanets, asteroids, whatever's pulling your curiosity. And those online explorations are a lot easier with the fastest 5G home internet. So, if you're moving into a new place or just ready to upgrade your connection to something a little more advanced, visit t-mobile.com/home internet to check availability and get your home internet delivered today. Same-day delivery for most internet-eligible customers. See if it's an option during checkout. Fastest according to Ookla Speed Test Intelligence data, second half 2025. All rights reserved.
Before we go to Q&A, because this is a queries episode, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is, from our Patreon members. And because they're thinking about sleep. So there's the value of sleep as a restorative force on our bodies and minds, perhaps. But then, what is the value of dreaming? And is that any different from daydreaming?
Yes, it is, based on the architecture of based on the patterns of brain activity. They're not quite the same thing. To your first part of the question, what does dreaming do? And we have to be clear, what does dreaming do above and beyond the stage of sleep that it comes from? So we have 2 main types of sleep, non-REM sleep and REM sleep. And most dreaming comes from REM sleep or rapid eye movement sleep. And it's not just whether you have REM sleep. REM sleep has a series of different physiological functions, but dreaming on top of REM sleep also has selective benefits, and there are at least 2. The first is that dreaming provides a form of informational alchemy, which is that every morning when you wake up, having gone through dreaming, you wake up with a revised mind-wide web of associations. Because it's during dreaming that we take all of the information that we've recently learned, and we collide it with this back catalogue of information that we've stored up across a lifetime. And we don't start to make the obvious connections during dreaming. That is what we do when we're awake. dreaming is biased towards building the more distant, non-obvious associations.
So,
And that's
so
why
the
it's
whole thing is they say, sleep on it.
yeah,
Right.
That's where you get that phrase from, sleep on it.
correct. How many times has someone ever said to you, Neil, you should really stay awake on a problem?
Right.
No one tells you that. They tell you to sleep on a problem, and that's exactly one of the functions. It's like group therapy for memories. Everyone gets a green badge, and then dream sleep gathers all of these people, and it forces you to speak to the people at the back of it that you don't think you've got any association with whatsoever. But when you do, you find it's a distant, non-obvious connection. Because when you start to fuse things together that shouldn't normally go together, but when they do, they cause a marked advance in evolutionary fitness. That sounds like the basis of biology and creativity. And so that's one of the functions of dreaming.
Well, it would have to be, especially when you have associations like a zebra in women's lingerie smoking a cigar while drinking a martini. How do you actually relate that to anything in your life? Not that I had that dream.
The friend.
Not that I had that dream.
The friend.
You know, there's very few sleep questions that have ever left me dumbfounded. However,
So let's get to the questions. We have a bunch of questions here.
With Matt's explanation about dreaming, then to take sleep out of our lives completely wouldn't make any sense at all.
no, especially because, and I mentioned was that the second function is perhaps even more relevant to that want of keeping it, which is that dreaming provides a form of overnight therapy. Dreaming is an emotional first aid, and it's during dreaming at night when we take difficult, sometimes painful experiences, and dreaming acts like a nocturnal soothing balm, and it just takes the sharp edges off those painful, difficult memories, so that you come back the next day and you feel better about that experience.
I got one. I'll tell you what happened to me. The night of September 11th, 2001. I'm 4 blocks from the collapse of the towers, and so I had to get my family out.
I was going to say, you were still... Go ahead.
No, it was traumatic. I maintained composure,
Right.
but it was traumatic. I had to get my 2 kids. One is 9 months old, one is 4.5, and I collect my wife in Midtown because we live downtown, and we went up to my parents in Westchester, New York. Okay, very safe distance from, and they were running trains in one direction, but they weren't taking people back in. Okay, so the reason why I'm saying this is, at the end of the day, I went to sleep, and I woke up 11 hours later, and I was astonished because it didn't feel like 11 hours. But I'm echoing your point. My brain had to process what the hell just happened, and that was more than a day's worth of content, I would say. And so, is it just the easy explanation here that my brain wasn't ready for me to wake up yet? It was still processing all this disparate content that didn't happen in a typical day?
We see this time and time again, whether you're learning vast amounts of information that requires memory consolidation, cementing of new information into the architecture of the brain, or that you've had difficult emotional experiences. There is a selective drive and a demand from your brain and your body to get more sleep, to see if it can reconcile the weight of the kind of burden of life that you've given it that prior day. And so it fits exactly, I think, with your experience. You know, there's a beautiful, an American entrepreneur, E. Joseph Cuthbert, had a wonderful phrase. He once said that the best bridge between despair and hope is a good night of sleep. And I would say that in the past 20 years of studying sleep with mental health, we've not been able to discover a single psychiatric condition in which sleep is normal. And I think that tells me everything that I need to know about the intimate relationship between your sleep health
And your body knows.
and mental health.
And we're saying your body knows.
It explains a lot about me. Thank you, man.
You're very well.
I'm understanding myself much better now.
Therapy session here.
Send us the bill. Let's get some Patreon questions.
Okay, Matt. Sit up straight. Here we go. Ronald is a great name. Ronald Nigel Williams from Selma, Alabama. Thank you for what you do. You're welcome. Thank you for being one of our Patreon just put the glass on. If the brain can generate a fully immersive reality during dreams without external input, what does that reveal about waking consciousness? Are dreams just neural noise, or do they expose that, what we call reality, is always a controlled construction of the brain, and sleep revealing the machinery clearly? It's quite a deep one.
Just to understand the question, is it that the brain is processing your awake state? I was going to say your woke state, but that's got baggage today. Okay, your awakened state, and does your brain know that that is an objective reality versus what it dreams about? Is that where he's trying to get at?
I think what he's saying is that no, all of reality is a perception of our brain.
Yeah.
So when we go to sleep, does that kind of perceptive reality then just become neural noise, or does it serve a purpose to reveal the machinery more clearly?
That was good, Chuck.
Great question. Wonderful synopsis. I would say what this question to me reveals is an uncomfortable truth about your dreams, which is that your brain can build an entire universe. So space, time, faces, emotions, memory, narrative, coherent, out of nothing. There's no light hitting your eyes, there's no sound, there's no world. You're cut off from reality. But in the dark of this thing that we call our skull, it is manufacturing a fully convincing reality, and it does it every single night. And that has an implication, because if the brain can do it when essentially the doors are closed, what makes you so sure that what you experience when your eyes are open?
Don't mess with us like that now. Stop messing with us.
I'm going to have to go further, because the reality is, it actually isn't any different than that. So what we call reality right now is also a construction. It's a model that your brain is building behind your eyes. And the only difference is that the waking perception is, it's almost like a controlled hallucination, one that's essentially tethered to time, second by second by second. And that information is streaming from your senses. That's the only difference between your waking consciousness and your dreaming consciousness.
My name is Neo. You're coming in and out of the matrix there, just in case you didn't know.
Programs, hacking programs.
Yes.
But no, so it's a wonderful demonstration that I think there are these hard boundaries that we think of that are actually much more porous than we imagine. That there's this thing called the dreaming state and the waking state. They're very similar in some ways, except that dreaming has a feature to it that really gives it away, which is that you have no logical, rational reasoning or control. And that's where you start to believe things which are not there. So you hallucinate, you are delusional, you get confused about time, place, disorientation, and you forget the most important specific information. And that's the beauty of dream sleep. There is no sort of CEO in control with top-down regulation. There's no logical, rational control.
The inmates are running the asylum.
That's exactly what it is.
Wow.
And we believe that there's good utility to that. That's where you get kind of the loosey-goosey, everything starts to get connected together in these wacky, strange ways. No wonder you can solve problems in your sleep in a way that you can't with this very rigid way of thinking that is the waking state.
Wow, that is.
Now you've scared me.
Yeah, that's. However, that's.
So your dreams were the world's first psychologist, first of all, right?
They were. Exactly. It is your therapist.
Yes, your
It is-
therapist.
In a therapist.
Inner therapist.
Wow.
Dreams were the world's first psychologist, first of all, right?
They were. Exactly. It is your therapist.
Yes, your
It is-
therapist.
In a therapist.
Inner therapist.
Wow, what you just said there, Matt, actually answered Aaron Gannon's question as well. So, Aaron, thank you for your question. So let's move on to Sam, who says, greetings, Dr. Tyson, Lord Nice, Gary, and Mr. Walker. My name is Sam, and I'm writing to you from the home of Casey Jones, Jackson, Tennessee.
Is that right?
Look at that. He says, I recently read a study by Laura Lewis from the Boston University about cerebral spinal fluid washing the brain during sleep. My question is, Dr. Walker, could the waves of cerebral spinal fluid that wash through the brain during sleep actually be generating the dream state rather than the other way around? And if so, what does that mean for what we think dreams are for? Thank you for your time and consideration. Live long and prosper. Well, thank you, Sam, you big nerd. Well, I mean, just generally, what is this cerebral spinal fluid and its relation to sleep? Because Sam has already read the study, we have not. So maybe if you start there, we'll be able to unfold an answer.
Does it have
for
any
him.
validity?
Well, that's that whatever you know about it, it doesn't have
an immense amount of validity. I think it's one of the most stunning new discoveries in the field of sleep.
Wow.
It is. We used to think that the brain didn't have its own cleansing system. The body did, which is called the lymphatic system, and we've known that for several centuries, in fact. But then a scientist at the University of Rochester, Macon Nedergaard, made an incredible discovery working in mice. First, she found out the brain does have a cleansing system. It's called the glymphatic system, named after the cells that make it up, called glial cells. The second thing that she discovered is that this cleansing system, which uses cerebrospinal fluid, this sort of, it's almost like the WD-40 of the brain, it uses the cerebrospinal, terrible, so it uses cerebrospinal fluid to essentially flush out all of the metabolic detritus that builds up during the waking day. And that was her second discovery. This lymphatic washing cycle is not switched on in high flow volume across the 24-hour period. It's only when you go into sleep, and specifically deep sleep, and this will come back to Sam's question, it's only when you go into deep sleep that this cleansing system kicks into high gear. So it's good night sleep clean. It's a power cleanse for the brain. The final thing that she discovered, which makes it really relevant for disease states, is that two of the pieces of metabolic detritus that the lymphatic system cleanses when you go into deep sleep are beta amyloid and tau protein. These are the two underlying culprits of Alzheimer's disease. And it explained why for now over 10 years, and we've done some of these early studies, we're seeing a very strong relationship between people who are getting less than 6 hours of sleep across the lifespan and a markedly higher risk for developing Alzheimer's. But it was an association in search of a mechanistic causal answer, and she discovered it. And we've now actually developed a silent fMRI, silent MRI scanning protocol, and we're having people sleep inside the MRI scanner, and we can now see this pulsing cleansing system in real time. Wow. As people are sleeping in the scan, it's absolutely beautiful. But it actually comes back to Sam's question, though, which is, it turns out that dreaming comes from principally a different stage of sleep. It comes from rapid eye movement sleep, whereas this lymphatic system happens during deep non-REM sleep. So the two are disconnected.
But while we're here, because we keep referencing stages of sleep, I think it'd be nice to have a baseline and you give us the actual stages of sleep and how many cycles would that happen throughout the night, these stages themselves.
So when everyone's head hits the pillow tonight, you're going to go on this incredible roller coaster ride in and out of different stages of sleep. And as I mentioned, we have two main types of sleep, non-REM sleep and REM sleep. Now, non-REM sleep has been further subdivided into 4 separate stages, unimaginatively called stages 1 through 4, increasing in their depth. So stages 3 and 4, that's that really deep restorative sleep. So what happens is that when you fall asleep, you go into the light stages of sleep, and then you go down into the deeper stages of non-REM sleep. And after about 70 or 80 minutes, you'll start to rise back up, and you'll pop up, and you'll have a short REM sleep period. And then you go down again, down into non-REM sleep, and then up into REM sleep. And you do that, on average, about 90 minutes is each cycle's length. What changes, however, is the ratio of non-REM to REM within that 90-minute cycle as you move across the night. And what I mean by that is, in the first half of the night, the majority of those 90-minute cycles are comprised of lots of deep non-REM sleep and very little REM sleep. But as you push through to the second half of the night, that teeter-totter balance, that shifts. And now more of that 90-minute cycle is comprised of REM sleep, dreaming sleep, and very little deep sleep. And that's the reason if you've been woken up from a phone call at 1 o'clock in the morning, you almost never remember a dream. But if it's late in the morning, sort of 5, 6, 7 in the morning, and you get woken up, typically that's when you'll remember a dream, because you're moving into the REM sleep-rich phase of your night of sleep. Does that make some sense?
Absolutely.
So, by the way, I discovered these cycles when I was in college. And I was studying my sleep cycles, right? And so 90 minutes is a bang-on unit of time for me. If I don't have time to do 5.5 hours, I can 90 minutes. I don't even need an alarm.
So you got
I
an
go
hour
to sleep
and a half
and come back out.
back out.
Correct. And I have several of these throughout the night, which are hugely useful when you were apportioning the times of day where you got to get stuff done versus when you're going to go to sleep.
But I would say, though, to your point, Neil, I love the fact that you can almost get that quartz-like precision. There is a bit of a myth, though, that I say on average it's 90 minutes. It can be as little as 70 minutes, and it can be as long as 120 minutes, depending on who you're studying.
Got it. I'm not 120. If I wake up after 120, I'm groggy. But if I wake up after 90, I'm not.
Yeah.
Perfect, because you've gone down into the deep stages of sleep
But
again.
I discovered this empirically is my point.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know how I did it? Did I say this the last time?
Are we going back to my meth joke?
No.
Please don't.
So what I did was, I drank half a gallon of water.
Oh, that's the Native American alarm clock.
And then I went to sleep. And then throughout the night, I woke up to go pee.
Yes.
But my body woke itself up to go pee, and those would bang on to the cycles. When I'm in deep REM, it doesn't wake me up. So that's I made note of those timings, and then that's how I used it. So that's just me. I don't know. I'm the one who was hit by lightning, apparently.
Well, I've done the same thing, except it's just my failing prostate.
Oh,
Did you need to share?
What I love about it is you spoke a little bit about if I go past that 90-minute mark and I then wake maybe an hour and
it doesn't work.
45 minutes, it doesn't work.
It doesn't
because
work.
As you said, we've gone down to that other cycle, and when you come out of deep non-REM sleep, that's very unusual. Your brain never naturally does that. And what happens is that when you go into deep sleep, a large amount of cerebral space, particularly your frontal cortex and other areas, they all go power down. And it's almost as though when you come out of deep non-REM sleep, you try to go from the basement to the penthouse, and you get stuck on the 13th floor, and you get this grogginess. It's almost like a sleep hangover effect. And it's what we call sleep inertia. And when you come out of deep sleep, it takes much longer for the brain, like a classic car engine, for example. It just needs time to gradually warm up.
Which uses WD-40.
Operating temperature. Which uses, I was just about to go. I love it, simpatico.
So
you and me, Neil.
The value of this to me is often I take very early airplane flights. So I got to leave home at 4 to catch a 6 o'clock plane. If I'm up till midnight or something, or if I'm working, I can combine 2 1.5 hours. That's 3 hours. I'm not going to go to sleep at midnight and wake up at 4,
right?
Because that's out of sync, right? So I will stay up another hour so that I'll wake up.
You'll come out of it.
Okay, correct.
And you'll come out of the cycle at the right time.
At the right time.
Right.
And so sometimes it's staying up another 15 minutes or 20 minutes or a half hour. And so this works with precision. Thank you. What's the term used? Quartz precision. I love
Quartz
that.
like precision. But I would say that people sort of have this, you've got to be a bit careful for these kind of gadgets that say, I'll wake you up at the perfect moment, because they all assume the average 90-minute cycle. But the problem is no one is the average.
Well, I'm the average, but yeah.
Literally, well, except the sublimely extraordinary, but yet average, Neil deGrasse.
Feel better now?
Next question.
All right, we got Kenny McFarlane, or Farlane. Really precious about pronunciation. Kenny's from Washington, D.C., and thank you, Kenny, for sharing your own personal story here. I'm going to get the thoughts of Matt. As a kid, I experienced a number of parasomnias, sleepwalking, sleep terrors, nightmare disorders, sleep paralysis. Still, some occur. Why do we grow out of these conditions? Why do some seem to go away and others continue to be consistent? Does our brain chemistry change and that allows for them to cease? Or better, what does experiencing parasomnias tell us about our brain and chemistry? Thanks for taking the question. You're welcome. And he cites himself as an all-too-lucid dreamer.
Ooh. Wow.
Yeah.
So much going on in the question. Okay,
Yes.
I'll try and be efficient, but what Kenny's describing are the parasomnias. So these are parasomnias. These are things that happen sort of in and around sleep, but aren't quite sleep itself. So sleepwalking, sleep talking, night terrors. People often think that if someone is sleepwalking or they go over to the refrigerator, they open the door, they kind of have some, that they must be dreaming and they're just acting out their dreams. That's actually not the case. When you have a sleepwalking or sleep talking event, sleep eating event, what's happening is that your brain is in the deepest stages of non-REM sleep, and we can record it and we can see people walking around enacting these what seem like complex behaviors, but the brain waves look like deep, slow brainwave sleep. And what they're doing is simply acting out fairly routinized, just simple kind of more sort of basic motor behaviors. And if you wake people up, and typically you shouldn't, you should just sort of make sure that they're safe, but just let them go through it. But if you wake them up and you say, what was going through your mind just before I woke you up? And they'll say, nothing. My mind was blank. And the reason is because they were in deep, dreamless sleep. They weren't having a dream.
So going to the refrigerator is different from asking to start a game of chess, right? Where you said they tend to do routine, you know, open the window.
Exactly. Yeah.
Something that
Glass
is
of water to the
very
lips.
repeatable.
Yes. Yeah, this is not sort of, well, some people have enacted things such as they get in their car and they actually drive, and but most of this happens much lower down the sort of the food chain of basic behaviors. However, sleep paralysis is something a little bit different, and I will get to Kenny's question as to why does it change as we get older? Why do we have less of these events? But sleep paralysis is a beautiful demonstration of how normally two things go lockstep hand in hand, which is that as we're waking up, well, let me go back. When you go into dream sleep, your brain paralyzes your body so your mind can dream safely. So every time you go into dreaming, there's a signal sent down your spinal cord and it paralyzes all of the voluntary muscles, not the involuntary ones that keep you breathing, but the voluntary muscles that you use to kind of reach over and grab a glass. All of those are paralyzed. But normally when we're waking up out of a dream, your consciousness, as it's starting to return to you, as that's starting to come up, the paralysis is gradually released in perfect lockstep so that you wake up and you can move and you can talk and you don't even think twice about it. Sleep paralysis happens where your consciousness gets a little bit ahead of its skis and you're starting to wake up, but you've not been released from the paralysis. So you can't move, you can't talk, but you're aware of your surroundings. And typically, this happens with a sense of something else or someone else being in the room. And it turns out that if you look at all of the characteristics of sleep paralysis, they often explain quite a large majority of so-called alien abductions. Correct. Because when was the last time anyone here heard this news story? You know, they were saying, today in downtown Dallas, Jimmy was just whooshed away by aliens. You know, we were sitting around the board table and all of a sudden, whoosh, Jimmy was gone. It never happens like that. It's usually at night when we're in bed. People describe that the aliens injected them with a paralyzing agent. They couldn't move, they couldn't talk, they couldn't fight them off. This is classic sleep paralysis. And so this is one of the other features. It's not sleepwalking or sleep talking. It's a distinctly different sort of component of this broad collection of things that we call the parasomnias. Why do these things, however, change as we get older? Well, it turns out that the boundaries between sort of waking consciousness and these sleep events is quite porous when we're young. And in part, it's because of the prefrontal cortex developing. The more that your prefrontal cortex develops, the more capable your brain is of creating hard boundaries between being awake and being asleep. But when we're younger, because of that prefrontal cortex not yet being fully matured, the states of being very much kind of awake and conscious versus being very much asleep and non-conscious, they're a little bit more sort of free-flowing. And that's why you can have intrusions of essentially wakefulness into sleeping states. And that's what we call parasomnias. Now, as we get older, we can still maintain some of these things. And I think Kenny is describing that he still has some of these things too. That's fine. It doesn't mean that there's anything necessarily wrong with you, as long as it's not causing safe issues.
It just means that your prefrontal cortex never developed, Kenny.
Not saying that at all.
You have no executive function, Kenny. I'm sorry to tell you,
You're not
Kenny.
medically trained
That's
enough
what
to
Matt just
diagnose
said, Kenny.
me.
Matt just told you.
Kenny, you're fine. Kenny, you are absolutely gold. As long as there's no safety concerns, you are A-okay.
However, wouldn't it depend on how old Kenny is? Because from what I understand, the prefrontal cortex and executive function is the very last thing to harden in the development of the brain.
It is, and that's why essentially these things can even be extended into late teenage years. And I would say to Kenny's question too, I think he mentioned is it something about the chemistry of the brain?
Yeah.
It's not really the chemistry of the brain, it's the structural architecture of the brain that's changing. And that's why those episodes will start to dissipate the further into adulthood we go, because of the structural development rather than the chemistry itself. By the way, stress and sleep deprivation, both of those markedly increase the probability of those parasomnia clustering events happening, just as an FYI.
Interesting.
Nope, that's lame. Ready? Do you harbor questions about the universe? Some long-held bit of cosmic curiosity lingering within you? Or questions about anything at all? You can become a Patreon supporter of Star Talk. You have access to our exclusive question line on our website. Those are where we draw our questions for our cosmic partners.
Some of the most extreme objects in the universe.
Star Talk is a work in progress where we, every month, come up with some new way, some new idea, some new understanding of how to bring the universe down to Earth. We could not do that without your support. Thank you. And as always, keep looking up.
All right, here we go. This is Anna Ivinko, and Anna says, hi, Dr. Tyson, Dr. Walker, Lord Nice, and Gary. Greetings from Croatia. My name is Vinko, and I have a question about the importance of sleep scheduling. I work as a doctor in the emergency medicine department, and my shifts are as follows. 12 hours, day shift, 7A to 7P. Night shift the next day, 7P to 7A, and then 1 day of rest. Often I work 2 day shifts and then a night shift for 2 nights and then a day shift. How do I preserve my circadian rhythm and therefore my physical and mental health on this job? I really like my job, but I also want to live long. Longtime fan and recent Patreon patron. And yeah, so why don't you go ahead, Matt, and tell Vinko that she is screwed.
Would you stop?
She needs a union. That's what she needs.
A union.
You need sleep. You need a union, girl. You don't need sleep.
Anna, oh my goodness. Okay.
But first, start off, what is a circadian rhythm?
Circadian rhythm is simply a rhythm that lasts approximately 1 day. So circa Diaz, sort of essentially the circling of one day of time. So that's your circadian rhythm. We all have one. And it's almost like this sinusoidal sort of wave where we are more awake throughout the day because we are a diurnal species, and then our biology ramps down as we go throughout the night, and then we step are repeated. And you have a circadian rhythm. It's driven by a 24-hour clock in your brain, and it just beats out that beautiful 24-hour rhythmic pattern.
Okay, briefly, I heard that they took people underground and took away their watches and had them just live their own understanding of day and night. And when they did this, they lived 25-hour days. They didn't live a 24-hour day, none of them. So that we might be fighting our own rhythms by staying with the sun. Are you familiar with that study? Was it replicated? What was that about?
It is. It's been one of the most replicated findings, and rather than think of it that we're fighting our biology, it's simply that our biology has a little bit of sort of error margin in it, and it simply needs the sun, which has been the most consistent signal since the dawn of time, for a rhythmic circadian rhythm. And it latches on to the sun, and the sun acts like a set of fingers on a wristwatch, and it simply just kind of tweaks your 24-hour rhythm back to precisely 24 hours each and every day.
Okay, so we're not fighting a 24-hour day. The sun tunes us to it, and without the sun, our circadian rhythm gets sloppy.
Gets a little wayward.
It does.